Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's video podcast, where we talk about transforming ITSM workflows, integrating HubSpot with Jira Service Management for unmatched customer satisfaction. We'll talk about how you can improve your IT service management processes by integrating HubSpot with Jira Service Management. You'll learn how this integration improves your customer support and strengthen communication between sales and support, so you don't lose business due to open issues. And I'm thrilled to welcome Christian. Thank you very much for being with me today.
Sure.
How are you? Where are you? And how is the weather?
Thank you for having me. First of all, it's great to be part of this. I'm in Berlin. It's a typical Berlin winter day, so it's a little bit gray. But other than that, all good. No complaints. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So before we start with our today's topic, I would like to know a little about more of you, who you are, who Resolution is. So what brought you to Resolution, and how would you describe your job?
It's actually an interesting story. I'm originally South African, and I wanted to move to Europe, and I started applying, and I found this position at Resolution. I originally started as a marketing specialist, but because of my history and knowledge within the HubSpot environment, I then started to work on our HubSpot apps, our HubSpot offering, and ultimately becoming the HubSpot for Jira and HubSpot for Confluence product owner. So now it's a little bit of both, in between being marketing, also product owner of a few of these apps, also a few others, just more than HubSpot as well. So for Monday.com as well, and Task Timer, which is the time and status counter. So yeah.
What initially sparked your interest in bridging HubSpot and Jira Service Management? Where was there a specific incident or trends you noticed?
We definitely saw a trend. To be honest, when I started with Resolution, they just launched the HubSpot for Confluence version, so it was fairly new. Mm-hmm. And that was the first HubSpot app that we actually had on that lesson marketplace at the time. And we did see quite a lot of people wanting more from the app. I remember having quite a few one-on-one calls with customers, identifying their use cases and their needs and seeing what we could do with the app. And ultimately that led to us saying, okay, you know what, we actually need the integration to go into Jira as well. And that's where we started seeing, okay, it's becoming clear what customers want, what they need, what their day-to-day struggles are. And ultimately that is being what's driving the app in quite a big way, is what the customers requested. For quite a while, it was our fastest growing cloud app. And we thank that because of how well it was received by customers. They were constantly telling us their use cases, their feature requests, and that helped us. Their feature requests helped us develop the app into what it is today, and how powerful it is today.
Could you share some memorable customer service challenges that you may realize the need for better sales and IT support integration?
Of course, a lot of customers ultimately had a very similar issue in their workflows. We constantly saw them complaining about the lack of communication. Specifically the lack of communication between teams, complaining about, I don't necessarily get the needed information from the sales team or from the support team, so vice versa. And also we wanted to bridge the gap, not only on how they receive information, but how they would constantly communicate with one another, because that was the clear trend that we saw.
Okay. Could you walk us through a real world example of how this integration has transformed a company's workflow from, let's say, initial sale to ongoing support.
Yeah, of course. I'll actually be showing you in a demo in a while exactly the typical use case and how we've successfully helped customers ultimately keep track of their deals, and more specifically, their deals that are affected by open issues in the support environment. For example, we have a software company. They have a customer that they are onboarding, and during the onboarding stage, their customer experienced quite a few issues, and they were logging, obviously on the JSM portal, they were logging their issues with the support agents, and this is where the app came in handy, because right there, the support agents, by help of this HubSpot for Jira integration, they could access the customer information directly, and they could also see which deals were affected, so that they can easily see how they need to escalate which issue. But more than that, they also had access to the customer information. If they had missing information, for example, if they had to make a phone call, they could easily get the number instead of having to ask other team members through various channels, for example, Slack or via email. And they could just go into their HubSpot data from right in their JSM portal and get all of the relevant information that's needed for them and act on it quickly. Because the quicker they acted on it, the better, because otherwise they are at risk of losing that deal if they do not act quick enough.
So the deal-breaking situation was actually to give the people the right information at the right time when they need the information, and so that communication flow was there, and that was the situation.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So when we talk about those data, and maybe you just mentioned it, we can just jump into the tool right away. What specific HubSpot data points, like contacts, deals, and company information, prove most crucial when they're linked to a Jira Service Management ticket, and why?
It really depends on your situation and your workflow that you've got set up. But if you are someone like, for example, the case that I just mentioned, if you are wary about deals being at risk because of potential bugs or whatever the case might be, then it's obviously very important to make sure that if a support issue comes through, that you make sure that there is no deal that needs to be linked to that issue or that's affected by that issue. But furthermore, it's important to know that all HubSpot objects, so whether it's contacts, companies, deals, or tickets, they can all be linked to one JSM issue at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You can link multiple. You can do as many contacts, companies, deals, and tickets to a single Jira issue, JSM issue, as you want. But furthermore, you are also able, once it's linked, you are able to see other properties. And that's where the more important information comes into play. For example, if you take a deal, you want to be able to see the life cycle, the stage that deal's in. For example, again, what I just mentioned, they were busy with onboarding, and the support agent was clearly able to see that with that deal being attached to that Jira issue or JSM issue. They were able to see the stage and then act on it effectively because they have that information at hand.
Now that you mentioned that we have the information in there as well, I could think about so many other things that could be like automated between those things, like comments, for example. But maybe we come back to that later. Just
sure.
Give you the room. I show us a little bit more.
I would definitely want to come back to automation and talk more about that. But let me dig into this demo instance that I currently have here. So that's very important to know that this is a demo instance for the sake of showcasing how this app works. I already have my JSM ticket right here that we say the customer has logged, and their issue that they're experiencing is they're unable to log into their software. So we can see in the description that the customer is BMW. The person who logged the issue is Brian. And we can see that they are evaluating the software, but they are experiencing an issue when trying to log in. But further than that, we don't really have a lot more information. So as a support agent, I want to go into HubSpot and quickly see, okay, is there a deal? There should be a deal because they are evaluating. Is Brian an existing contact in there? And whether or not BMW is an existing company in HubSpot as well. So when you click on HubSpot CRM for Jira, it brings up this little module here, and you can say, link your object. And here, first of all, I'm going to start by searching BMW to see if there is a deal. I can see there is a deal. I'm going to add that to my selection and do the same for company, because if BMW is there, I can add them. And if Brian is under BMW, so I can add him as well. Now that that's done, I should be able to see his information. So right here, I can see exactly that. I can see Brian as a contact, BMW as a company, and the deal. I can also see that what the deal stage is, the decision maker is brought in. So that's very important now for this support agent to see that, okay, this is all of the information. There's a phone number, who's the contact owner in HubSpot. So he already has all of the information. So from here, he is now able to ask Andrew, who's the owner, if he was informed of any issues or not, just to make sure that Andrew, who's the contact owner from the sales team side, are now also aware that his customer is experiencing a problem. And so that's where the comments come into play. But I want to take it a step further and also show you what this looks like inside of HubSpot. So if I go into HubSpot, and I'm just going to refresh my deal for the moment to make sure that we pick up the Jira issue, I can scroll down on the right-hand side until I get to the app. And here I can see that issue now in HubSpot as well. So just because the service agent was now able to link all of those objects, the deal, the company, and the contact, this card will be displayed on all of those objects dashboards at the same time. So I can view more. So me now playing the role of the contact owner, the deal owner in HubSpot, I'm also able to see, okay, wow, my customer has logged an issue. Here it is, what the issue is, and I can also take further actions. So I can edit and view the issue as need be. That would just allow me to edit the things that are already existing in the issue. And also I can check to see if there are any comments. If there are no comments yet, I can leave a comment. So I don't have any information, so I can just say, tell me more. And once I save that, I can see it leaves the comment, and this should now reflect in the issue as well. So that's kind of the main way to communicate between these two different teams, between support and sales. They can actively communicate through the comments, but ultimately also now you can see that this, not only does the support agent have access to all of the relevant and important information, but also the sales member has got access to the support information at the same time.
Cool.
Furthermore, if I am the HubSpot owner and I know the customer is experiencing an issue, but they don't, or they haven't yet created an issue, I'm also able to do that on their behalf. So I can go ahead and create a new issue that will tell me to select the project where it's in, and then I can complete it as need be. And that will also be sent to that dedicated support channel. And as easy as I've created a JSM ticket from HubSpot, I can do the same from inside of JSM. If I have a request and it doesn't necessarily have a dedicated HubSpot object yet, I can also go ahead and create an object from the JSM ticket. Let's say if that object does not exist, I can just simply go ahead, click on create new object, complete the fields as required or as I have the information, and that will create the object in HubSpot as well. And that's as easy as that. But furthermore,
when we talk about maybe real quick, when we have the creation part, I know that HubSpot has a workflow engine as well.
Correct.
Can HubSpot workflows be integrated with Jira Service Management tickets to just automatically create, update, or escalate support tickets based on customer interactions? And from a Jira perspective, can that be integrated into workflows or maybe even automations?
So some exciting news on that. At the moment, the current version that's available in the marketplace at the moment, no, it's not possible. But the good news is that we've already started development on automation, and we are very near to the end. We're making good progress on this specific feature, which will allow you to automatically link HubSpot objects to Jira and JSM issues, or the other way around, to automatically create or link JSM or Jira issues to objects from HubSpot. So the automation will definitely work both ways, from HubSpot workflows as well as from Jira automations as well. And we have taken it as far as to say that once a customer creates a support ticket, once that ticket's created in the JSM portal, it should then try and find that customer inside of HubSpot. If that customer already exists, it will automatically link it without the support agent having to go ahead and look for it. It will automatically be linked. If it is not existing, it will be automatically created. And the same the other way around. You can.
And so in the future, when I think about like the deal obviously goes through different stages and has a probability. So the more the deal went like from a come on board view to the right, it becomes more important. So that will have an influence on those existing support tickets as well.
Correct. And we'll even go as far as to say that would be selected as some of the triggers as well. We're currently obviously still working on it, but we are developing quite a few triggers as well as actions for these automations and what will be possible when the automation feature comes to HubSpot for Jira.
So that brings me to the next question, actually. So what metrics should organizations track to measure the success of the HubSpot Jira Service Management integration? And how can support agents determine which Jira Service Management tickets to prioritize based on the affected HubSpot data?
So I'm going to answer that question in two parts. So the important bits of information that are needed, again, would be your stages, your amounts, stuff like that. So you know which one to prioritize, which object or which issue that are affected by a specific object to prioritize. Obviously, it can be different depending on your workflow, but that is a very quick way for you to quickly see which ones are important, is by viewing the stage, the pipeline, those kind of properties. As for prioritizing and how to prioritize inside of JSM, how the support agent needs to to consider for himself how to prioritize, we've built in a reporting functionality. So first of all, I can go into filters because you can set up a filter for this. And for the sake of this, I've created just a very basic filter where I can see all of my JSM issues. And I can also see, if I scroll to the right, how many of my company's contacts, deals, or tickets are affected by any given JSM ticket at a specific time. So for example, here I can see that I have an issue that's affecting 8 deals. I would say that is pretty crucial. So then I would know, okay, this is one that I need to prioritize. And that's just the start of it. You can go even further and you can go ahead and build custom dashboards based on this information that you have. And you can fully customize this based on what information you need to see or want to see or what you think would be important to your workflow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I have like in HubSpot, when I have like a drop-down list or something for the level of a customer, is it a key account, a small account, a mid account, I can bring in those information as well. And based on that, build my dashboards, build my queues in the system, and then I can prioritize or even shift work around in my team, right?
So that is not 100% yet the case where priority will have the effect on the reporting. That's still a little bit of a more manual process. Mm-hmm. But I mean, with the information already there, if you open your reporting, whether it's the filter or your dashboard, with a quick glance of opening that issue, you will be able to view the priorities of whichever objects are linked to those issues.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you just wanted to show something. I think I interrupted you several times.
No. I've got nothing more to show. I've showed you most of it. Unless you want to talk about, I can definitely talk about permissions as well, because I know for a lot of people, user permissions are quite important because they don't necessarily want everyone to have access to customer information and so on.
Sounds good.
Cool. I think that would be quick, and that's a easy one to quickly showcase. So what we've done is when you set up the connection between HubSpot and Jira or JSM, it's very easy to determine who would have access to the customer information, whether that is reading access or writing access. Because we also know how important it is to not necessarily go overboard with creating objects in HubSpot just for the sake of creating it. We don't want to spam your CRM with unnecessary information. But also you want to be sensitive to information at the same time. So when creating the connection between HubSpot and JSM, you can select your user groups. If you have specific user groups who you want to allow to access the HubSpot object information, you can do that right here. You can put those specific users into a user group and add those user groups into this specific field. Furthermore, you can also select your projects. And the reason why projects are important is if we go back or think back about creating issues from HubSpot, it's very important not to overwhelm the user with various different projects. So you can specify exactly which project they can create issues in to make sure that they create the issues in the correct project. Further than that, you can play around with your Jira field settings and your HubSpot field settings. We know that HubSpot's got loads and loads of properties. Mm-hmm. We support all of them. We also support custom properties. So that's all good. The same goes for writing permissions. So when you create objects from JSM, you select your user group who's got access to that and their properties.
Maybe back to the fields. What what would you say are the typical fields that are synchronized between Jira Service Management and HubSpot?
Well, again, depending on the object, object names are always important. We always recommend stages and priorities because priorities are heavily used. Object owner is also a really important one because as a service agent, you want to know who's responsible for whichever object that is being linked. Also, when creating an object, you want to know exactly, you have an idea who's responsible for which accounts and so on. But also then you can decide who to assign a specific object to. In terms of just thinking of how to prioritize and the importance of objects, you can go as far as saying, okay, the monetary value is also important. But a lot of companies don't feel necessarily comfortable with sharing all of that information in such depth, and then you can just exclude it.
Now that we're in cloud, right? So HubSpot is a cloud system. Jira Service Management, you showed, is a cloud system. What security and data privacy considerations should be addressed when integrating like customer data between HubSpot and Jira?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, the one thing that I need to answer, which a lot of our customers ask when they are in the evaluation process, do we store any of this information on our end? Do we store any of their customer information? We do not at all. We've gone through all of the necessary approvals with HubSpot. We are certified with HubSpot. So that is all out of the way, green light there. As far as from a company using the app, it's quite important for us to keep up to date with the GDPR regulations. And we also follow the same rules that applies to HubSpot. So the moment that when you remove information, so let's say you delete a customer from HubSpot, then that customer, if he or she is linked to a JSM issue, they will automatically be removed in the issue as well. So just not to have that kind of discrepancy where the contact is still available in Jira or JSM, but no longer available in HubSpot. That's not the case. So as you modify or delete or create objects in HubSpot, that will ultimately affect it in Jira or in JSM. So whether it's an update, whether you delete it, from a create point of view, you can only create objects from Jira and JSM. You cannot edit them. We leave the editing at the moment purely in HubSpot. But yes, all of the changes are done real time.
Cool. So I guess you tick a huge checkbox here.
We try.
Very good. Back to like the very, very beginning. What are some common pitfalls organizations should avoid when implementing the integration?
Well, that's a very good question. A lot of people, I think it's very important for people to also know that, again, this is why we limit it, is when you give access to your CRM to, let's say, for example, another team living or spending their time in Jira or JSM. I don't want to say living, but using Jira or JSM, you need to remember that, again, you give them access to customer information. Be aware of the sensitive information that you give access to. But more than that, just be aware of your HubSpot licensing cost when creating objects or when allowing users to create HubSpot objects. So be aware of something like that. But more than that, yeah, just make sure that you assign the correct permissions, because you don't want to be caught off guard and in hot water with that.
Yeah, definitely. Looking ahead, what developments do you anticipate in the integration of CRM and service management tools?
Well, I can answer that in two. For now, I can also tell you what we are planning. Like I said, we are planning to do the automation feature soon, which is really exciting. And then we have another more requested feature or higher requested feature for using internal comments, because we know that with the JSM portal, you've got internal comments versus comments to customers. So we're currently working on that, and that should also be coming soon. Looking at the bigger picture of the overall future of integrating CRMs with support portals, I think based on what I've seen, at least when I attended HubSpot Inbound earlier this year, they're really focusing quite a bit on AI, like the rest of the world. And I think when you are looking at omni-channel communication, it's going to become more and more important on how you integrate your platforms, but keeping AI in mind, asking AI to give you a quick update on, please tell me if this issue is affecting any of my customers, or please tell me if customer X, Y, Z are affected by this issue. I think that's kind of the direction it's going to lean towards.
Now that you mentioned that, wouldn't it be a great use case for Atlassian Rovo? Did you try that already?
We haven't tried that specifically for this app. And yes, there are reasons, because we did have some internal discussions of which ones we want to test out some of the Rovo capabilities. We've actually decided, and I don't necessarily want to go off topic, but for Rovo, we've implemented some functionality on our NASA Not Another Stand-Up app. So that's exciting. I think when it comes to the HubSpot app, we have we're really overwhelmed, and we are very grateful for being overwhelmed with quite a few feature requests. And so we are really working quite aggressively on those, because ultimately that's where we see the success from the app is also coming from, is driving that. But yes, it's something that we definitely have to look into. We've got some logistical questions that we need to answer first.
Cool. So, but yeah, in general, what you've already mentioned is like the integration between both systems, like HubSpot workflows, Jira automations. That's also a next step you plan to bring into the app to even more automate what is going on. So that is pretty cool. No further questions. Also in the chat, I think we don't have any questions. So we'll just make really sure that you can scan these QR codes to follow Resolution on LinkedIn. And in a bit, I will show the Ificode one, because really important information. Uticus is now part of Ificode, and we will switch the brand probably real soon to Ificode. And so I want to make sure that everyone is obviously following it. The videos are available later on both platforms, YouTube and LinkedIn, and both accounts of Uticus and Resolution. So you can at any point go back, take a look at the video, and contact us. So thank you very much, Christian, for your time. And
thank you for having me.
Podcast. Really looking forward to what is coming to the app. We use it quite heavily, and I really like the new layout of how you can add information and see information. So huge improvements there, and I'm really looking forward to all the automation stuff. So,
thank you. I appreciate it. I'll definitely share that feedback with the team. I'm sure they will be more than happy to hear that.
That's great. Cool. So thank you very much again, everyone. Have a great day, and see you soon.